god. There we go. Hi, YouTube! So yeah, we're gonna work on that, and then I'm not sure who's gonna go next. We might work on the next friend portrait. We definitely have plenty to work through. Hello, Mage. How are you? I kind of want to take just like a night off from them once we finish Eden and just kind of sketch a character idea. It's actually an older character idea that has gone through a little bit of iterations. It is for a game idea that I had a long time ago and is probably never going to actually flesh out into a whole thing, but yeah, it's a fun thought exercise to sort of work on in the background and like world build and whatnot. So we might mess with that a little bit. We might do some like D&D stuff, just like come up with a character prompt and sort of sketch that out. So we'll see where we sort of end up wanting to go with that. But first we got Eden to do, so we shall do that. I do wish the weeks were longer. Specifically, I wish the weekends were longer. I wish we had like 8 days and that more of it was weekend. Honestly, a 4-4 split would be pretty sick. I could work with that. Hell, I'd even take 3-4. We need to normalize 3-day weekends. Oh, there we go. You're working? You're happy? Good. You can go over there. You know, I keep thinking, and I should look it up because maybe somebody does. How come no one makes turn signals for bicycles? I understand that they don't come standard just because a lot of bikes don't come with, you know, bells and whistles and fancy odds and ends. That's fine. But I feel like a turn signal would be really helpful because otherwise you're doing all these like hand gestures and you gotta take one hand off the handlebars to do it, and so you don't have as much braking power. It's like, what about just a little button on your thing, and you like hit the button on the right bar and a little blinker comes up, button on the left bar, left blinker comes up. I feel like we can do that. I feel like we have that technology. I don't get why that isn't, standard. Well, not standard, but I don't get why people don't make that. Maybe they do and I just don't know about it. It would be nice though. They used 2 years ago, but I haven't seen any in a long time. They weren't very big though, just a novelty. I feel like they would be good. I feel like that would be a really good thing to have on a bicycle. Sorry, I'm just pouring some tea real quick. I would appreciate it. I would use it. Because sometimes, I'll be like coming down a hill and, I need to make a turn. There's one that every time it's like I go down this hill and I take a right turn, and because I'm coming down this hill pretty quickly, I'm slowing down. I'm not going to take a hand off the brakes to indicate that I'm turning right. So I just have to hope that the cars play nice, which is never a fun place to be in. I never assume that cars are paying attention or know what's going on. Whether I'm driving one or whether I'm riding my bike or walking, I just assume that drivers are idiots. And it's worked pretty well for me so far. Yeah, and then you get in like a group of bikes and you gotta use the hand signals because people aren't gonna hear you shouting. It's weird. Yeah, Jin's been playing a bunch of Pokemon games lately. She's been doing like Nuzlocke, which is like a challenge mode of Pokemon. And it's fun. It's fun enough to watch. I would never do one of those. One, I don't care about Pokemon enough. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna open my window. There we go. But Jin has been very patient about it. There's a lot of backseating. There's a lot of people that are just kind of like, why don't you do this? And I'm like, why don't you shut up and let them play? I would lose my patience with that so quickly. I don't know. I guess she's built different. My call amount is all I'd be doing all stream. It's true. I feel like there's a difference because, like, you're running support on it. Like, you know, researching things, answering questions. That's different. That's very different from just like, hey streamer, why aren't you doing this? Or why are you using this Pokemon? It's like, I don't know, because I fucking want to. It's just such a weird... It's such a... I feel like in some instances there's... I can understand where it's coming from, right? Of like wanting to help. But when it comes without being asked for, or when it comes in a very like condescending way, it's not helpful. It's just very rude. It's like, why don't you let them just play the game and enjoy it and have a good time? Especially on something like a Pokemon game, you know? It's like, guys, it's Pokemon. This is not some, like, wild, try-hard, sweaty game. Just have fun with it. I realize it's a Nuzlocke, which is not the most try-hard, sweaty game mode that you can do with Pokemon, but it is considerably more try-hard. But still, jeez. You know, I was watching, I linked it on the Discord, but I was watching this very interesting video by an animator. Let me grab his name. He does a very interesting sort of like mixed media type of animation where he like sort of goes like does effects over himself. James Lee. Cool guy. Cool guy. Comes across as insane. But he seems like an actually very, you know, nice, thoughtful guy. He was talking about sort of his creative process and dealing with burnout and, you know, just a lot of sort of considerations. And even was sort of joking about, you know, he was making this video and he had sort of started into making it and didn't know how he was going to finish it. And so there was like this recurring gag of you know, it's a 15-minute video exactly, and we're counting down, and I don't know how to finish it. I feel like it's one of those ones that I'm going to end up going through a few times and sort of to really, you know, digest it and consider it and think about, you know, how it applies to me and all of that. But one of the things that I think was a very sort of interesting and easier takeaway from all of it was, you know, he sort of gives a lot of these examples about, you know, sort of being in different modes, you know, being in the more sort of creative artistic mode where you're just doing a lot of explorations and nothing is really set in stone or committed to. And then as you sort of start to get a more concrete idea of what it is that you want to do and how you might do it, then you start switching into productivity mode and start narrowing the focus down, figuring out deliverables and execution, and, you know, sort of turn it more into a project rather than just a fun art project, right? But one of the things that he was sort of talking about, or at least I sort of picked up in listening to him talk about all this, is I think one of the things that can be very difficult for, I would really say anybody, but anybody sort of in a creative position working on creative things, is trying to just do the same thing ad nauseum, right? Just keep going, just keep grinding, just keep doing, just push harder to get the results that you want, right? And it's not so much a like, oh, you know, work smarter, not harder thing. It's a, you gotta diversify your work, right? Including taking breaks from it. Like, if you want to take a break from working on one thing to work on another thing, that's fine. But if you just sit there and do the same thing forever, excuse me, you are going to hit a wall. And so, you know, shifting gears to approach a project in different ways, or sort of going between projects, taking a break, you know, something so that you're not just on a constant treadmill, I think is really important to avoiding, you know, running into blocks, running into burnout, or just getting completely wiped out entirely. So that's kind of something that I just want to think about with my own work, and just how I approach things. I think for the most part, it's pretty good, right? Like, obviously we do a lot of drawing here, and we haven't been doing a lot of game dev just because of how things have been going with the computer, but I want to get back into that. And I think what has been really helpful in the last like month or two has been saying, well, let's not just do like the same drawing topics over and over again. Let's work on doing drawings for other people. Let's work on maybe doing some D&D stuff for some design concepting. You know, let's do something more painterly. You know, the Star Wars drawing was a lot of fun just because, like, I really don't do like big scene shots like that normally. So it was definitely not in my comfort zone, but I was having a lot of fun just figuring out how I wanted it to look and how to execute it. And it didn't, I would say it didn't quite get to where I wanted it to be, but frankly, I think if it looked exactly the way that I would have wanted it, I think I would have had to do like 3D rendering and compositing. I don't know that I could like hand draw sort of the fidelity that I was hoping to get. So, you know, that said, I was still quite happy with the results. I think it was very successful. And people seemed to really resonate with it, so I was happy about that much. For sure. You know, one of the things I really love about this song, I was thinking about this the other day. So, Casey Edwards composed this song, right? Gura sort of worked with him and talked about things that she was feeling and things that she was thinking about, and he sort of, you know, took all of that and worked it into the lyrics for the song and put it all together, right? And then Mazu? I believe Mazu is the guy. Yes, Mazu did the music video, did all the animation for it. So Mazu worked on an animation a couple years back called Hollow Myth Bad Ending, which sort of, as the name implies, is it's like an 11-minute video sort of depicting the sort of a possible reality of the Hollow Myth characters where things don't go well. And obviously it got a lot of community attention because it was very well done. People really loved it. And, you know, we also sort of got to see it be developed in real time, right? He would work on a bit and release that and sort of show his progress, and then people would go, oh my god, and then he, you know, over the course of like a year and a half or 2 years, finished and released the entire thing. And it was very well done. It was very cool. And obviously, because it was like such a noticed part of the community, talent in Hollow Myth was aware of it too. So it really doesn't sort of surprise me that Gura at some point, I guess, reached out and was like, hey, would you like to do an actual project with me rather than just a fan animation? Yeah, I think that's really cool of her to do, but I have to imagine as well that the reason that she was able to work with Casey Edwards was because a few years back she got really into Devil May Cry, and there were a lot of clips of her like just kind of fangirling about Devil May Cry and Dante and Virgil. And it's very fascinating to me that sort of the happenstance, right? These little moments, these little coincidental events can lead to, well, you don't know what, right? Just her having fun and being a nerd about Devil May Cry, and she gets to work with this composer. I don't know. It's very cool. It's wild. No, that's not what I told you to do. Thank you. I have to wonder how many like Gura fans are like, who the fuck is Casey Edwards? And then how many Casey Edwards fans are like, who the fuck is Gargura? And then you learn all kinds of new things. Get introduced into a world you didn't even know existed. Okay, so I was putting off working on the arm last time, and I think we're gonna have to focus on that now. It's easy to forget how niche VTubers still are. Like, obviously a lot bigger than they were like 5 years ago, or even 3 years ago. But, you know, compared to like other social media and content creators, it's still a very small subset of general entertainment. I never really watched streamers before I got into like following VTubers and such. The most that I watched streaming was that I would watch esports tournaments. So I'd watch like Dota and StarCraft. I did watch Overwatch League for a while, back when that was a thing. It was fun. I never quite figured out how to make it like a really effective spectator sport. And frankly, I don't think Marvel Rivals really figured it out either. Like, none of the games are super like clear. Some of it I think is just the speed of the game, but I don't know, I'm trying to think, like, battle royales manage to, I guess, make decent spectator sports. People watch those. I guess it's kind of different because, like, people will watch streamers play anything, right? But for something to be a spectator sport, to be, like, more generally watchable and not just sort of following a single player doing whatever they want, I don't know, it's different. So I wonder, because one of the things that I think serves like MOBAs and strategy games very well is a lot of times there's sort of a narrative that occurs, a narrative that emerges over the course of the game, right? About like how different fights go and how farming and item progression goes and leveling goes, and where little opportune moments happen, and how players are able to capitalize on those. I wonder if sort of the ability to form those narratives, to create like logical progressions throughout the game, if that's almost more important to a spectator sport than like the technical execution of like how visible and logical the game is, right? Because if you can sort of see, oh, the players did this, so then this happened, right? Even if you're not watching the players go through every step of the motions, you can still sort of like see that happened and then extrapolate the results of it, right? Like when you're watching Dota, you don't have a camera on every player at the same time, all 10 of them. The cameramen, and admittedly they're, on the bigger tournaments, there are typically like 2 or 3 camera people that are sort of spectating and will sort of call out events to the casters and swap their view in to try and keep an eye on the most interesting things happening. But even then, they're only tracking like they're not going to be able to watch everybody on the field. But it's okay because you'll have an idea of like, okay, this person's doing this and this person's over here, and oh, these guys moved over here, what are they doing? And then you can follow that and see if it's like a play with some sort of payoff, or maybe it gets thwarted at the last minute. Right, but then because those guys were missing from their lane, the other person got a free farming opportunity and was able to jump way ahead. Right, so you get this interesting sort of emerging narrative of like decisions and payoffs. And I feel like with something like Overwatch or Marvel Rivals, you get like very short vignettes of individual plays, right? Which doesn't lend itself as well. I think that combined with the hectic gameplay just kind of results in a blur of a bunch of shit happening. And you're just kind of like, yep, that sure was a game. There sure was stuff that happened. Yep. You can't necessarily describe it with much clarity because it doesn't have that sort of form from start to finish. I don't know if that's the exclusive, I don't think it's the exclusive reason, but I do think it's a factor. There we go. There we go. Oh. Mm-hmm. There we go. Did I make a mess of this? I think I did. It's alright, we'll fix it. Just get rid of that because it's making more confusion than it's solving. One, two, three, four. Let's try and soften this up a little bit. Fire on the beach, face to the sky. Like gods in disguise. There we go. Just singing on. Yeah, I was watching a couple of James Lee's videos after I watched that one on creativity, and one of the ones he was talking about was a big thing that he had done with the last few of his videos where, you know, like many people, he got started working with Adobe stuff, right? Photoshop, Premiere, After Effects, Illustrator, you know. Adobe does have a very impressive, very large suite of software. I don't think anyone's going to pretend that they don't or argue that they don't have a very, very big library. The problem, the complaint is never about the size of Adobe's library. It's about how much they charge for access to it. But, you know, over the years, Adobe has gotten so exploitative with their pricing and access and how just difficult it is to work with them. And frankly, let's be real, Adobe's software kind of runs like shit. Like, Photoshop is so slow. I don't know why it's so slow. And so, you know, the last few videos he has been making with zero Adobe software. He's using DaVinci Resolve, which is what I use. Uses Clip Studio Paint, uses, if anyone remembers an old MP3 software called Winamp, the person or the team that developed that made sort of a, I guess it's like an audio editing software as well. And you look at it, it's like, yeah, this is the Winamp, guys. It looks so similar. It feels so similar to Winamp. Yeah, he was talking about sort of even on a broader level. I do use Photoshop, but it wants all the memory. For a second, I thought you said all the money. Both are true. It does. And look, how much is Clip Studio using right now? Out of curiosity. Where's my task manager? Wow. It's actually really good. Clip Studio is using less than a gigabyte against OBS's 2.2. So yeah, Clip Studio is really sipping on the memory, all things considered. I think it would be somewhat fair to say that Clip Studio doesn't do as much, I suppose, as Photoshop does, right? Like Photoshop is a photo editor and a drawing software and all these different things, and like you can use Clip Studio to do pretty much all of it, but some things might take a little bit more finagling. You might kind of have to bend the program to do what you want a bit more compared to something like Photoshop. But there's also just other software that you can get to do those specific things if that's something that you're concerned about, right? But James was saying that even on like a more macro level, one of the things that he has been trying to do is move over to Linux, because in much the same way that Adobe is really frustrating with their creative software, Microsoft is proving to be similarly problematic with their operating system, which I get. Like, I don't hate Windows 11. Day-to-day use of it is fine. I do feel like it runs slower than 10. I feel like it asks for more resources than 10 did, but doesn't provide a better experience for it. I feel like a lot of the resource allocation is for stuff that I didn't ask for. So it kind of just results in a slower computer. And, you know, James has sort of been championing, like, not even like a free software environment or a better, you know, tech industry. Well, he is championing for a better tech industry, but a lot of it is just, I think he put it as like software made for people. And I have to wonder, I feel like at some point I'm going to hit essentially a breaking point where I'm like, no, I'm done with Windows and just migrate over to Linux. I feel like that day is going to come. And at this point, as he was showing in one of his videos, like there are enough wrappers and, you know, systems that people have developed for Linux that if you want a version of Linux that like behaves almost exactly like Windows, that's an option. You can absolutely do that. The main thing that I think is still sort of a limiting factor to me is that not everything runs in Linux, right? There's still going to be stuff that I just need Windows.
You're watching this video
here,
sitting down. I'm gonna need you to fix your fucking posture, you croissant-looking letter C, crescent moon ass, scoliosis motherfucker. Fix your spine! Damn!
I think it's kind of a question of a breaking point, right? Like, what is going to be the thing that makes you say, no, too much, I'm done. You know, like I was saying on Saturday, that whole thing with the modeling lesson that uses Maya is like, you don't need to use Maya. You might need to like pause the lesson and look up how to do stuff in Blender and whatnot, but at this point I really don't think you need to like bow to Autodesk and pay their monthly subscription to have access to Maya. I think you can get away with using Blender for pretty much anything you would want to do. I certainly hope that's the case, because I would hope that at some point Autodesk is basically gonna find their laurels eaten out from under them. That so much of the user base has migrated away from using them because their software was prohibitively expensive, that people just aren't voluntarily using it anymore. And then they have to figure out how they're going to survive that environment. I think both Blender... So, Blender is an interesting one, because at this point, I mean, never say never, but at this point, I think the main, like, the biggest thing that you can say in favor of Blender is that it's free, right? It is readily accessible to anybody with a strong enough computer. And the minimum requirements for that are not very high, right? You know, the fact that Unity and Blender are both sort of in the same boat of, we could be paid software, but you know, we're not, because that's not what we're here for. Kind of trying to figure the shoulder out. I don't know, like, to me, it makes them far more appealing. And then both of them, you know, like I've talked about, benefit massively from the user adoption, right? That the devs aren't having to do everything themselves. The programs, or the operating system in Unity's case, is open-ended enough that people can make, you know, plugins and wrappers and add-ons and whatever else they want to make the software more appealing and more interesting and more effective to their particular needs. Like, you can get wrappers for Unity that make it look and act like Windows or Mac or Android or just something else. It doesn't have to, you know, obviously most people are going to want something familiar, but if you do decide that you want to get freaky with it, it has the ability to do that too. Because at some point it all just turns back into ones and zeros, right? And the question is sort of how you choose to interact with those. So, this is not me declaring that I'm ditching Microsoft and I'm going to Unity or Linux or anything. I kept saying Unity, I meant Linux. You know, I'm not gonna be making the switch right now, but especially as Microsoft insists on sunsetting Windows 10 way ahead of its end of life. It is something that I'm thinking about. At what point do I say enough? Because frankly, unfortunately, as we've seen with all these companies, with Microsoft, with Amazon, with everyone, they're not going to say enough, right? It's gotta be something that people decide. But you still say there we go. Okay. I'm gonna take a brief pause from recounting these guys. I feel like it's getting close. I'm happy with it for the most part. I want to work some on the background. Let me actually check. Let me check for a second. Eden should be online. She is still on her chatting screen. Motherfucking pre-roll ads. Speaking of companies never willing to say that's enough. Okay, I see. I see. Here, you know what? Let me just do this. Where's my pure F? There you are. Okay, I see what's going on. To forget. Through the silence. Okay, and then, so I like that gradient. I think I'm not gonna literally copy the background from her stream. It's a little too, it's not the move that I want to make. We're gonna use that as inspiration, but I'm gonna do my own thing. There we go. There we go. That's kind of nice. Excuse me. Okay, how does that look? Okay, I like it. I think we're just gonna make this bigger. I'd like it to serve as a framing device. So, if we can just kind of stretch it out like yay far. Then maybe bring it in just a little bit so that the tip of the ear is not like sitting on the lines on either side, right? Nudge it just a hair so that this one down here isn't touching either, right? I don't know, anytime you get little objects like overlapping like that, it always creates weird brain things. That's a technical term for it, I believe. Brain things. Okay, and then I want to try one more thing. Just for funsies. I wish I had an easy way to do this. Let me check materials really quickly and see if there's something I could use to like cheat this. I don't think there is, but oh, wait. This might work. If I can just like drag it into the scene. Okay, good start. I'm not actually sure how to use this. Okay, so it's like a vector, I guess. I'm just not sure where the material properties are. Decorations, balloons. It's got to be here somewhere, right? Oh, yeah, here we go. Okay. Oh, oh, that's kind of fun. Okay, so image material ratios. Oh my. Rotation, tiling, transforms. Center of rotation, correction, operation, selectable object. Okay, so there's not quite as much control over it as I might otherwise want, but I think we can still work with it. Alright, that's fine. There we go. That looks good. Assuming it'll rasterize cleanly. It might not. Here, can I just have you rasterize? Let's see. For safety's sake, we're going to duplicate it and then file. There we go. Perfect. So yeah, just like right here. Why aren't you working? What's going on? Is there a reason that I can't draw on top of you? Oh, because I'm stupid. I'm still on my star brush. So it's trying to, but it can't. Classic user error. There we go. Yeah, just a little extra bit of like crystal faceting. I think adds a nice touch. Okay, I'm happy with that. Okay, so now what? I'm just gonna clean this up a bit. Good. Okay, so now the question is, what do we need to do to sort of get this one over the finish line? Get it really feeling good. Get it singing. It's close. I just want to mess with it a bit more, right? There we go. No, no. There we go. I don't know. Part of me does want to spend more time doing 3D work. I feel like at some point we'll have to start doing a lot of 3D modeling for pages. We got a few more like creatures and environment pieces and such that we'll need making. Oh, you know what? I need to add this. Don't have any highlights in the eye. That's better. Much more personality there. You can go now, thank you. I think I actually have this backwards. Should be darker on top. Man, Yoglish really did an amazing job with this model. Yoglish is a very good artist. I don't watch her streams that often, but she's very good at what she does. I feel like if I had the ability to make duplicates of myself, one of them would be responsible for just watching streamers. There we go. Let's get a little bit more blue sort of bounced into some of these areas. Let's give it a little bit more connection and volume. I ended up spending like 6 or 7 hours yesterday working on the model. The summer outfit is, I would say it's getting pretty close to done, but I ran into a couple of issues with it that I'm like, oh shit, how do I fix this? So I was kind of bumping my head against that a lot of last night. I do think I got it into a pretty okay place, but it took me a minute. It took me a minute. Oh, let me check this. I only remixed this song and I don't know what the remix sounds like. That's not the type of remix I was expecting. We'll let it cook though. Streams education. Anyone brave enough to do all this has something I can learn from. See, I agree. I agree. You don't necessarily get that in watching the stream, just because sometimes the streamer, when they're in their element, when they're in their streaming mindset, they can be a little, it can be very interesting. But I do think you're right. Much like many forms of entertainment, to be a good entertainer, I think, takes a level of awareness and intelligence that is not immediately evident. I think the people that are really good at it can make it look so effortless that you're just like, wait, so what's the hard part? And then you try and do it and you're like, oh, holy shit. It's all the hard part. Conquest and lies, two times in the sky. Dog sees the moon, nothing thoughts from you. Okay, it's looking okay. I'm still a little iffy on the face, but I think it's doing better. think it also depends a lot, right? Like some streamers are much more interested in just chatting about stuff and, you know, working on projects or, yeah, having conversations. And some are gonna just get into insane conversations about whatever schizophrenic stream of consciousness comes to mind. I feel like I tend to filter a lot of thoughts. I'm not particularly inclined to just sort of let everything fly free. Dangerous habit, that. Some people are able to do it okay. But that's the fascinating part. Yeah, but I think I just automatically start filtering thoughts. It's not like, oh, I'm, you know, picking and choosing what I want to, you know, say to you guys and talk to you guys about. I mean, I am some, but I think just as a normal way that I operate, I'm already just like, a thought will happen and I either just sort of pass on it, or it even sometimes will just kind of happen and run its course, and I don't know how much I actually thought about it. Like I'll think of, you know, I'll have a thought and I'll sort of go through the entire thing and it reaches the end of the train and I'm just kind of like, wait, what was that? You know, some streamers will have like quote bots and whatnot that, you know, people can add things that the streamer has said to the quote bot and bring it up later for funny callbacks and references and whatnot. And I think most streamers that have that are like, I do not remember saying that. It's like, do you think we notice or are aware, let alone remember, half the shit that goes on in a stream? A lot of it is just kind of flying by the seat of our butts and kind of hoping that things don't go pear-shaped. Because no one likes a pear-shaped butt. I suppose some people might. There's something for everyone, right? Who doesn't like a good butt? we go. I think it's looking pretty good. I'm actually gonna get rid of this. I was trying to make these like sharper folds in the cloth, and I think it's not the right shape. It's sort of folding and leading in the wrong direction. And just compared to like the model design, I think it's much softer than I had sort of initially read it as. So I'm just gonna get rid of these. We'll keep that. I like that little happy accident, but sort of the larger shape of it has got to go. I think in part because of the streamers that I watch, a lot of times I have this feeling like I need to be always yapping and yammering about something. But then I'll also watch... I notice it a lot with art streamers, but even with other streamers, it's like, sometimes you can just shut the fuck up, Kaiga. You don't need to be talking the entire runtime of the stream. I talk awesome stuff? I don't know about that. Hello, Tisha. Hope you're having a good week so far. Welcome in. Just trying to wrap this one up. Trying to wrap up this artwork. Just get it into a nice clean spot. I think it's pretty good overall. It's just, you know, that kind of last round of what else can we do, right? What else can we do to really sort of put it over the top as much as possible? I don't really want to put, you know, hard time limits on any of these. But I do feel like if any of them run over 3 streams, then it's kind of going too long, you know? Be going? I'm glad you like it. Let me try something really quickly. I want to try something. Okay, so we're going to apply that. And we're going to drop you back here. But and then we're going to go similar. Blobbin. B-L-O-B-I-N. Blobbin. There we go. Okay, let's try this. There we go. A blob it. Now that's what happens if you combine a Blobbin and a Hobbit. There we go. Just add a little bit of back glow to it. We must destroy the ring, Koopa! I'm pretty sure there's been like a Moogle RPG game. Stop! Stop! I don't know what it was about though. And then we're gonna set that to... Yeah, if we set it to a dodge or an add, it's gonna be way too bright. But I think what we can do is make it a bit bluer, darker, and deeper, right? And then if we blur it, yeah, more. There we go. Nice. Not quite as strong, right? I think it just needs to be like 20%. Yeah. That's fun. It adds a little like colorful haze to it. Okay, I want to try one more thing. So let's take all of our background bullshittery. We're going to turn it off, and then we're going to go up here, and I'm going to copy. I feel like this is one that could really benefit from a post-process pass. So maybe something like that. And then if we set that to overlay, we need to bring down the high end. Yeah. And then we can just turn that back on. And then we can do our light. Yeah, I like that. I think that gives a nice little extra oomph of range. Just a little bit more contrast. So let's knock this down by a little bit. It's starting to make the tail a bit grungy. And then we can also clean it up some. There you are. Random question we asked, Wizard Battle or Pineapple Restaurant? What? I don't see how those are remotely related to each other. I mean, a wizard battle sounds more fun, but also considerably more destructive. I feel like I'd still go for the wizard battle. I mean, a pineapple restaurant would be nice. More of a wizard stare-off. Oh, then definitely the pineapple restaurant. The wizard stare-off sounds incredibly dull. Especially since they probably cast some kind of like no blinking spell on themselves, so they can just stare for ages. And really, who wants to watch that? Oh, I'm like, why the fuck isn't this working? Eh. Yeah, fine. Oh, I like pineapple. If you had a restaurant with lots of pineapple themed food, I'd definitely take that rather than watching a bunch of wizards stare at each other for ages. And before you ask, yes, I do like pineapple on pizza, and if you don't, that's okay, but getting on people's cases about it shows how weak-minded you are. Let's see. I don't want the music video, I just want the song. I have a very pineapple pizza. It may just take about a week. Probably still good at that point. I mean, I don't like just pineapple on pizza, right? I like it with something else. Pepperoni and pineapple, barbecue chicken and pineapple. I haven't tried sausage and pineapple. I like sausage and olive. That's pretty good. I don't know. I feel like pizza is best as a mix of flavors, right? There's nothing wrong with just a simple cheese or pepperoni, but given the opportunity, I like to put more toppings on. I was a picky eater, and then I hear some people talk about their food preferences. I'm like, oh my god. Do you only eat like 3 things ever? I think the two that I cannot, I don't. I hate mushrooms. I will not eat mushrooms. It's not even really the taste. I can't stand eating them. They're just gross to me. I can't. And the other one for me is eggs. I don't like them. I don't like the flavor that much. And I don't know. At that point, it's just not worth eating it to me. Tell you what though, it saved me a pretty penny during this whole egg apocalypse thing where everyone's freaking the fuck out about the price of a dozen. I'm just like, yeah, that's tough, buddy. I feel you. I feel what you're about, but I'm not there with you. You know, there's plenty of stuff with eggs as like an ingredient, baked goods and the like. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. And even if there's like egg in fried rice or something, I'm fine with that. But I don't like egg dishes, you know. Even stuff like cheesecake. I don't know. I've had good cheesecake. I had cheesecake that I like, but it's also not like the kind of cake that I would go for. Not my favorite. Not my preference. Okay. Are we gonna add her hair danglies? I think we will. Why not? Let's go for it. We're looking for things to add that little extra bit of flair and fun. But this will probably... I think it'll probably be the last thing. How long are these? Holy shit. Also, where do they connect? Shit. I guess she actually doesn't have them in the short hair version. I guess they... Yeah, okay, they wrap around the pigtails, so we technically don't need to do them if we don't want to. Oh, alright, you know what? We'll skip them. We're gonna skip them because she does have her 4 earrings. So we're gonna do those instead, and that'll be it. Yes. Okay, so we're gonna go stud. Ring. Stud. Ring. I was making the schedule last night and double checking all the times on it, and I was like, I'm sorry, Europe people. Freaking 2 a.m. GMT. What the fuck? It's what I can do, but I still feel bad about it. I don't know, sometimes I wish I could stream more, but it would take, it would effectively take a lifestyle change to be able to do that, and I think it would cause more stress than it would be worth. I think I ultimately prefer to stream as a hobby rather than as a career. You should acquire a horse with star-moving technology to make time earlier. I'll look into it. You might be onto something. Star horse, star horse, star horse, star horse. Some would say no, but they are the naysayers. Damn it. There it is. Our first pun of the day. Okay, and then I'm just going to duplicate this. We're going to grab this. And we're going to bring it down here. No, that's not what I said. Then we're going to blur again. There we go. There we go. Okay. I think we're done. I think we're done with it. I'm just kind of looking it over. I'm like, yeah. Just gonna smooth out this little bit of blobbing. Try and clean up a little bit of the stroke work. Good. Alright, and then we're just gonna throw the post-processing back on top to get that little bit of a cleanup pass. Shut the fuck up. Okay, I lied. I lied. One more thing. One more thing. But I swear, last thing. For realsies. I kind of left the hand. Just sort of sitting there. This is a little scrunchy. So we're just gonna clean up the hand a little bit, and then we'll be good. Slowly stop, just like. Oh. Yes, yes, put the clappy away. We're almost done, but not just yet. Soon. Soon, Tien. She also doesn't have very long nails, it turns out. Well, they might be longer in the model. I'm basing it off of the concept, the model sheet. But things do change. That seems pretty good though. We'll leave it there. Oh, why am I on the wrong tool? That's why it's not working. There we go. There we go. Okay, and then she has this interesting sort of gradient color, which I think, yeah, there we go, perfect. You just have to kind of carefully handle it in like 1 or 2 passes. Beautiful. There we go. Okay, cool. Just letting this out a little bit. Good. Okay, I feel better about that. I'm not super happy with the execution of the hand overall, but I can live with it. There we go. Alright. Alright, Kaiga. Kaiga. Let it go. It's time to stop. Good. Okay, I'll live with that. I'm good with it. Again, it's not perfect. None of these are. But I think we got to a pretty good place. God damn it. Motherfucking piece of shit! God! Me and my big dumb mouth. Before pausing. just in the back of the audience, you hear one person do a single, "Oh, come on!" Alright, good. Siggy looks fine, I just don't like the position of it. There we go. I'll take that. People in first experience the Lotties 4 seasons expect it would end, then just doesn't. You're like, what the fuck? What have we gotten ourselves into? There we go. That's cute. That feels good. I like that one. I like it. Yeah, it's all perfect. There's definitely some stuff about it. It's a little like, sure, but I think it gets the feeling across. Which in the end is kind of the most that I think you can hope for. Okay, so the question now, we've got 2 hours-ish. And so the question is, what do we want to work on next? We could get started. So the thing is, the person that I would like to do next in order, I don't really have an idea for the drawing, right? So we could delay it till Thursday and work on something else, and I can try and find some like pose ideas or expression ideas that might help. We could jump someone in line that I do have a better idea for, and we can start in on that one. But here, let me actually start checking some of these off just so I can remember which ones we've done and which ones we haven't. Okay, so we did that, we did that, we did that, we did that. There was someone that I wanted to add to the list and I completely forgot who. Okay, so yeah, what were you guys, my tunes? What would you kind of prefer to see? We can get started on another drawing for somebody, and we can play the good game again of who's that streamer, or we can maybe doodle a character idea. I have the old design, and essentially this would be kind of going back and like doing some revisions to make it. I don't know that I'm even necessarily like correcting anything, more just sort of if I were to do it again, if I were to do another pass and sort of bring the character up with some of the stuff I have learned in the years since last I drew them. What might that look like now? Whatever you want to do, but I want to know what you guys are interested in. I appreciate the openness, but it's a collaborative effort. Honestly, I'm trying to go back and find when the last time I drew this character was, and I cannot find the more recent iterations. Where the hell did they go? Oh no, they're gone. So it's a game concept I had a long time ago, a very long time ago, that I've sort of personally referred to as Dandelion. It was the protagonist character of that. I kind of wanted to bring a few other elements in. The red-haired one? Well, so she also has red hair, but honestly, that was one thought. I was thinking maybe change her hair color. God, where did it go? I swear I had more recent drawings, but I cannot find them. But no, I think you're thinking of Jordan, which is the main character from Pages, which is the game project that I am working on. Yeah, you're thinking of Jordan. Oh my god, I don't know where she went. Well, that sucks. Oh well. Not the Dark Priest one. Did I have a Dark Priest? You might remember some of my characters better than I do. Oh, wait. Wait. I might have found the last Inktober that I did that involved her. Let me see. Yeah, there she is. This was Inktober 2018. Jesus. Oh god, I'm old! Some kind of magical thing. Do you have any idea how little that narrows it down? Scott sounds Scottish. Oh, Leverin. No, she's my D&D character from a campaign that unfortunately never got off the ground. The DM caught a bad case of real life, and so we were able to do like session 0 basically, and never really got started with it. Unfortunate timing is all. These things happen. Okay, I think what we're gonna have to do is, yeah, unfortunately, I just don't see anything more recent than frickin' that really old sketch from years ago. Yeah, nothing from very recently, so I don't know. We could doodle that for a little bit and just sort of throw some ideas in, see if it starts to materialize, and then maybe we can start sketching out the next one that we will really pick up on Thursday. Just gonna do 3,000 on this one. We don't need a ton of space to play with. Do you have time lapse turned on? No. Okay, that's good. We don't need it. So yeah, let me grab, since the only one I can find is this one Inktober drawing. Which is wild to me. I don't know how that happened, but we're gonna roll with it. Really? Alright. Yeah, so the funny thing is, the original iteration of this character just had like a big old mane of hair flowing out behind her. And then in a later iteration, I like had her sort of loosely tie it back into, you know, one big sort of like poofy ponytail. And now I'm like, what if two? So by the time the game actually ever happens, if it does, she's gonna just have like 4 big poofs of hair behind her. You can tell her age by counting the hair poofs. This also happens with each Star Wars era. I wonder if that's true. It might actually be true. Leia had 1 bun, Amidala had 2, and Rey had 3. Well, so Leia had a bun on each side in the first movie, and then she changed it up for the other 2 movies. But yeah, for the most part, you are correct. KOTOR, no buns. No buns, only murder. Snide dismissal. If it does not improve in my ability to murder things, it is not relevant to my interests. Okay, I'm actually going to move the sash to the other side so that it doesn't conflict with the goodies on that side of the belt. Yeah, honestly, aside from like two old drawings, I'm mostly just kind of drawing the character from memory and like revising some shit based on personal taste. But yeah, I think so she had like a jacket, a sleeveless jacket, and then these sort of baggy sleeves. The original idea was I wanted this to be a very sort of like folksy design. So she just had like a fucking motley of colors, which I slowly sort of came to realize is like, okay, I get what I'm going for, but that's not the way to do it. So I slowly started like consolidating and bringing things more in line and, you know, sort of trying to establish color hierarchies. But I'll probably do that even more and just do like a complete color revamp if I ever decide that's like, no, I do want to do something more with this character and really explore it again in depth. At this point, I'm more just kind of like trying. I want to get the idea on paper somewhere before I forget it again entirely, which, since I can find almost no evidence of my old drawings of it, or the most, whatever the most recent ones would have been, is concerningly possible. Remember, Chooms, you gotta save your work. If you don't save it, you lose it. Do you feel like playing a thing? It's Control S on Sketchpad. There you go. Let me just try this. Let's do a little more sort of gestural sketch. Unsure about others. This is a dilemma I ever faced. The project likely won't meet the deadline. Let's do the smaller concept instead. Should work well with the timetable. A few hours later. I'd say so. I think that kind of comes into, you know, some of what I was talking about with James's video of like, especially if you start running into issues with, you know, deadline conflicts or whatever, it's easy to sort of get into like a panic mode of sorts and start looking for diversions. but that's kind of, those are the times when you really need to let the project brain take over and be like, nope, this is what we gotta do so that we don't explode. Like if it ends up, you know, if it helps, awesome, but you have a chance, I think, of just sort of completely derailing from the original project, the original focus. Just kind of spitballing new ideas, you know? I think that's how Halo 2 Cinematic got produced. Honestly, given how Bungie has a habit of operating, it would not surprise me if someone just kind of got bored, wandered off, and came back with the cinematic. What if you missed the deadline? I won't. 3 years later. Shit. Master Chief, you mind telling me what you're doing in that office? Sir, finishing this project. 5 years later. Shit. I kind of like this. Yeah, I don't know. I think it works. I think it's a neat little idea. I don't have many plans for it. I did have the thought of maybe spinning it, like the general sort of like silhouette and everything, into a D&D character, but for the actual character herself is based on a game that unfortunately will probably never happen, or if it does end up happening, will happen in a very different sort of form than it had originally come to me as, because big narrative strategy games are really hard to execute on, and I am not nearly good enough of a game designer to do that. Hell, I'm barely good enough of a game designer to make a little puzzle platformer. Arm is fucked. Alright. There we go. so bad, but good enough for our exploratory purposes. Okay. So now the question is, what? I don't know. Like I said, I just wanted to kind of get that down on paper before I forgot about it again. We might explore it more at some point in the future. I just want to think about it for a minute. Get a goose is finished game. What? Get a goose. Pretty sure if I try to get a goose, I'm just gonna get bit. Geese are temperamental little shits. Oh! Untitled Goose Game? That's a good little game. Okay. Just thinking about who we can do next. I suppose acquiring an actual goose may have a positive yield as well. I don't think it would. I don't feel like it really would. I feel like it would have unintended consequences. Mostly, what do we do? What do we want to do? Let me ask you, chat. You guys are here. You guys are making the effort to come by. Do you want to see another portrait? Do you guys want to see the next streamer portrait? Or do you guys want to see something a little different? You guys want to change a pace? I will not take it personally. It is up to you. See it come to life. Something different. All right, I'm hearing a vote for something different. Here, let's start the time lapse. Might try and make this kind of a speed paint type of deal. Just keep it very sort of short and quick and simple. Well, I say that like I'm actually going to be able to knock it out and have that level of self-control. Well, we shall find out, right? Should probably stop rotating the canvas for this. Let's see. Actually, when I think about it, yeah, level this out. That seems better. I'm gonna try. We shall see how successful I am, but we are going to try to keep things to a minimum number of layers. For the sake of simplicity and expediency. Oh, that's too big. It's too big of a brush. Ease it back. I can't let go. I know that you're gone. I have to move on. Things like everyone. Walk back. I like the idea of just knocking the size back a little bit. It's too big at the moment. And of course, because I'm doing it all in one layer, I can't just move or scale it. I need to redo it when I don't like it. But that is the challenge that I have set before myself. I'm gonna follow through on it. There we go. Okay. We should have done this tower on a separate layer. Yeah, I should have done it on the here, easy enough fix. There we go. There's no turning back. There we go. Okay, that's feeling a little bit better. I'm just going to desaturate this. Lighten it up a little bit. Kind of like the incidental chunking that we've got sort of happening as a result of the last, or when we broke it off. Your corporate policy, what I made our road. If we digitize our souls, half human, half machine, and no enterprise on earth will make us kneel to your empire of steel. There we go. All right. Honestly, if I hadn't done the Star Wars piece, I don't know that I would be confident in pulling this drawing off. But we're gonna go for it. I think we'll just work on it for tonight, just kind of fuss around with the idea and see if it gets somewhere. And if it does, then cool. And if it doesn't, then okay. I think that's one other thing that I need to work on, is just not treating everything like a product that needs to get finished, right? Sometimes you just make a thing for the sake of making it, and that's enough. Gently! Thank you, Tisha. I will try. I will try, and we'll see what we can do. I'm gonna get to the end of the stream and everyone's gonna be like, Kaika, that was really dumb. Never do that again. Or maybe that'll just be the voice in my head. Who knows? Yeah. Like on the back here, we would expect to see more bounce light, right? So we're gonna get a little bit of like that blue coming in. It's a little bit too ruined compared to what I sort of have in my head, so we're gonna narrow it down a little bit. I think slant it. Right, so it tapers a bit more. Yeah, I'm just not... This part, in particular, looks very strange. So I wanted to see if I can kind of get that to sit a bit nicer, play a bit nicer. I think getting some of these shapes to sort of follow the cylindrical design of the tower will help a little bit towards that end. Thank you, Tisha. Yeah, hopefully it'll be a fun little exploration. I don't think it's gonna be like a finished thing at all, but you know, if we can at least get it to a point where it's like, okay, I see the idea. That'll be neat. But thank you for hanging out and for chatting. I hope you have a really good rest and a really good rest of your week. Everyone say goodnight. So... There we go. Let's get a little bit of... I think we're gonna sort of knock down the shape some. Right? Get a better sort of sense of scale by reducing some of the human-sized elements, if you will. Excuse me. I think this is one of the things that's always sort of the most challenging, at least for me, to settle with backgrounds and environments, is getting things to actually sort of mesh together in a satisfying way, right? The boundaries of objects tends to be difficult for me to get a good grasp of and execute in a way that I'm happy with. There we go. That's kind of a fun little bit of detail, right? Can kind of keep playing that up in a few areas as we go. You know, we want sort of a feeling of something that has been maintained, like there are people keeping it in an okay state, but it's also very old, and that's kind of unavoidable in the state of it. There we go. Yeah, we're still missing something to really like sell the scale of it, I think. Get a sense of just how large this is. You guys working on anything? Doing any sort of like co-working? Just chilling out? Just vibing? I think this will also help, because right now everything is just kind of like billboarded. We don't really have any objects sort of overlapping. I think this will give a better sense of like depth. Hmm. It's getting somewhere. It's getting somewhere, I think. There we go. Okay. I feel like the tower is getting the right shape, at least, right? The detailing isn't all done, but we're at least getting the feeling that I want, which is good. Okay. If we're just looking at this as something that we're going to mess with for tonight, right? Then we're just going to try and finish this out. Get the sort of try and get everything into a more or less completed state. Satisfactory, if you will. There we go. Let's see, we listened to all that already. I'm gonna listen to this already. I'm sorry if it's a repeat, but it'll do. Oh, where's my brush size? Shape. Tip. No, leave that alone. Density. Shape. Size. There you are. Oh, weird. Huh. It's just very stubborn. Why are you so stubborn? Hang on. Why is it doing this? Stroke, gap, velocity, texture, tip. Yeah, for some reason it's just not scaling down all the way. I don't know why that is. Okay, well, I guess I'll fuss with that more later. For the most part, I do want this nice sort of fluffy, thick cloud texture. So we're gonna keep with using that. I just wish the brush were a little bit more responsive. I don't know why it's behaving the way that it is. For all that I've been using Clip Studio, I really haven't messed with it that much. I mostly just got it set up the way that I wanted and went, good enough. I haven't really explored its own capabilities as a program since then. Really should at some point. It has a lot of its own very unique and interesting capabilities. I just haven't found to leverage those very much. And that's on me. That is my shortcut. Okay. What the hell? You know, there's one other point that James made in his video about creativity, which is one that's like, I know, but I'm really bad at this, so don't expect it to change anytime soon. You know, it was pointing out, it's like, if art is sort of the contemplation and connection and correlation of ideas and feelings and experiences, then to really be fully creative, you have to get out there and have those things. You need to have experiences and have ideas and have different things that you are combining and experimenting with and exploring. If you're just sort of sitting around browsing the same ideas forever, then you're not gonna expand your horizons and come up with new things and be creative. You're just gonna kind of be stuck in a loop, which I think is probably to some degree where a fair amount of block and burnout comes from, right? If you're just sort of trying to do the same thing over and over again, but in new ways, that, you know, you kind of run out of permutations after a while, right? Or everything just starts to feel samey and uninspired because you don't have new ideas that are inspiring you the same ways that your old ideas did. And it's like, that makes a lot of sense, and I get that. But I'm also not about to just start, you know, running out and having new experiences every weekend or something. You know, go explore new places or try new things or meet new people, because that's just kind of not how I am. But it is, you know, worth considering, like, well, what am I doing? And is there stuff that I can be doing? Not all the time, perhaps, but periodically. That would sort of expose me to new ideas and potentially inspire new things to contemplate. Now and then. Okay, now, excuse me. now that I'm happier with where the tower is, I'm gonna go ahead and merge it into the environment just because it's like it's not doing me any favors to have them separated anymore. It's actually kind of wrong layering enough that's like, go ahead and put it together. There we go. So I imagine by the time we finish stream, Eden's gonna be done. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and put this up on the corner. That's what we normally do. There you go. So I don't think we'll be able to give it to her tonight. So I'm gonna shoot for delivery tomorrow evening. It's a little selfish, but I like giving it to them in person. You know, in a non-pressuring way. Getting this interesting little sort of like shelf or pit right here. Sort of break up the edge of it slightly. There we go. Nope, not that. How did lighthouses work when it was just fire? It seems preposterous to me. I mean, I guess it did, it's just how. So I realize I have a very bad habit of sort of keeping things in suspense and not necessarily explaining things super clearly. I'm bad like that. I like to control the narrative. So essentially this is like this character and this location are the same game concept. Essentially, like much of the world, or much of the game world at least, is expansive deserts. It's like a desert planet. And so, you know, traversing the surface is very difficult. So most travel is done by airship. So this location where the story sort of starts off is essentially a lighthouse. You know, a beacon, sort of warning of the mountain range and helping ship caravans navigate the environment. So this would be sort of the starting locale. And then over time, or you know, sort of after the introductory sequence, the player would get introduced to the fleet of airships that they would be helping out and responsible for. One thing that I haven't quite reconciled, it might be okay, but probably would need some figuring out, some developing conceptually, is, you know, a lot of times the main character, the player character in a game, their sort of role within the group or whatever they're doing in the game is sort of reflected in their like personal responsibilities or whatever, right? So like in Final Fantasy or Persona, the main character is typically the one calling the shots for the party and such. Whereas in this, like the player would have a lot of sort of say over like the decisions that the fleet makes and what kind of ships you have, right? The player would have typical player character autonomy and responsibilities and decision making, but the main character would not reflect that. The main character would be much more just sort of a part of things, right? And the story would be very centralized around her, but sort of the control, the responsibility, the authority would not reflect that. So there is a bit of a sort of disconnect in terms of like what narratively is going on and then mechanically what would be happening. So I would need to figure out sort of how to marry those two elements together better. I don't have an idea on what that would be. I think if I did, or I would need to do a pretty sort of substantial rework of the game mechanically to sort of reconcile those elements better, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's not like the idea that I had was particularly good, if I'm being honest. It could stand to be revised. Would not be the greatest loss by any means. Let's see here. So big that until it's done. I'll be that wall until it's done. There we go. That's looking a bit better. Thank you. Yeah, it is getting there. I'm still kind of fussing it, right? There's a lot of massaging that I still want to do, but I think it's starting to get that sort of like constructed, but still somewhat like naturally worn texture to it. I think one thing that sort of helps me when trying to do something like this, right? And again, this kind of comes back to that like fundamentals practices, rather than trying to, you know, construct everything out in a very exacting architectural way, right? To get a better, instead to focus, right, on like, well, what is the overall shape, right? How does the light sort of come around those shapes? You know, we have this big cylinder, and on the sunny side, you know, we're gonna get more like bright yellow hue from the sunlight. We're gonna get more of the pure albedo that sort of comes into the mid area. And then as it passes into shadow, we're gonna get some bounce lighting coming in from the environment. So we're gonna get some of these like slightly greenish tones, greenish bluish tones that are sort of gonna backfill a few areas, and we might get a few little sections that are a little bit brighter, right, where it just like happens to pick up the light a bit more than the main one. Something like that. And then, yeah, sort of using a combination of my square brush, right? And then my round brush, I think, gets a nice sort of blend of like, you know, some of the more still well situated stones, and then some that have gotten really like weather worn and rounded out. Clouds make a way for me. And then, yeah, just trying not to have any like stark jumps in the hue and value. Stark contrast like that is typically reserved for up close details, right? When something is this big, you tend not to get anything that's too like strikingly different, unless it's like a massive hole in the wall or something. You know, those are the big forms. Speaking of which, I think we can add like a like worn out area, maybe like right here, where part of the wall is eroded. I did my whole year build I did my whole year build a wall. One day that wall is gonna fall. Go build that wall up to the sky. Go build that wall up to the sky. Bird is gonna fly. Be a butterfly, build it strong, 'cause should probably, yeah, sort of keep the focus a bit lower down, just because that's sort of closer to the camera. We've also kind of not put as much effort into here yet. There we go. Okay, I feel like the tower's in a pretty good spot. We've got half an hour or so, so I want to make sure that we kind of hit on everything, right? Reminds me of pictures of a cave they found on the moon. Deep and dark, and it really stands out in contrast versus the rest of it. A cave? On the moon? What was that doing there? I hadn't heard about no caves on the moon. That seems fucky. The fuck's a cave doing on the moon? I guess I don't know as much about the moon's geology as I thought. I don't know why, I just kind of... Caves didn't strike me as being a feature of lunar geology. I guess I just kind of assumed that everything is too flat for it, you know? When's a volcanic tube that collapsed? Interesting. Oh, today I learned. I'll have to look into that later. That's really interesting. So, initial idea was just to add like more layering of atmospheric haze, right? But I think what I don't particularly like about that pass is it just kind of uniformly breaks everything up. It doesn't give a real sense of depth, right? It's just blurry. So I still want to add some like striation in there. I want to add some variation that makes it feel more, you know, rolling. Something like that. It's a strange universe. Tell me about it. What a small sample size you have to base that off of. Just a couple of planets and asteroids. Just wait. It gets weirder. Let me see if I can find the right song here. Excuse me. Is it this one? Yes. There we go. There we go. There we go. Of the mind, the night shall come to bed. Illuminate the sun, the answer shall be. On earth the same, but we shall be as one. And the flame has just begun. We go along the twisted neon ray. Together on their own, the journey shall be made. Together on their own, the journey shall be made. The stars align, we shall come together. Illuminate the sun, your sun shall be there. We will break alone, but we still make not me. Together on their own, the journey shall be made. go. Let's see. Among the trees that grow so fairly into a dawn, greater are none beneath the sun than oak and ash and thorn. Sing oak and ash and thorn, good sirs, all on a midsummer's morn. Surely we'll sing of no little thing in oak and ash and thorn. That is old in church or boldly breathed the mighty bone. All that the shoes the wise men choose, that each your cups is sown. But when you have killed and your bowl it is filled, and your shoes are clean and warm, back you must speed for all that you need to walk and dash and thorn. Sing oak and ash and thorn, good sirs, all on a midsummer's morn. Surely we'll sing of no little thing in oak and ash and thorn. Good sirs, all on a midsummer's morn. Surely we'll sing of no little thing in oak and ash and thorn. Meets mankind and waits wherever we gust be laid, to drop a limb on the head of him that anyway trusts a shade. But whether a lad be sore or sad, will melt with tale from the home. He'll take no long when he rieth along, neath oak and ash and thorn. All on a midsummer's morn, surely we'll say no little thing can dash and thorn. I posture checked myself. Can dash and thorn, sing oak and dash and thorn, good says, all on a midsummer's morn. Surely we'll sing of no little thing in oak and dash and thorn. No, let's just put it to normal and drop it to like 50%. There we go. Let's see. Okay. And then just for funsies, because I am a creature of habit. Drop that to like 20-30%? Yeah, 20. Attend to the flame, you can worship the ashes. Do you feel heavy, your eyes dropped with grief? Your spirit is wild and your suffering is brief. So never you buckle and bend to the masses. I'll tend to the flame, you can worship the ashes. Get round the fire with a glass of strong wine, and tell us a story from beyond the pale. Bury some seeds and expect some strong branches. I'll tend to the flame, you can worship the ashes. Now show me a man that can meet all his needs. For what we need most now is unity, see. A common old song to all creeds and all classes. I'll tend to the flame, you can worship the ashes. I'll tend to the flame. Neat. I think that's good. That was a fun little piece to explore. Just trying to branch out and do a little bit more like environment-centric stuff. I still love my characters. It's definitely gonna be, the main thing that I do, but it's nice to not feel limited to them, right? To be able to do whatever the hell drawing I want to do. And again, that was like 2 hours, which I'm happy about that. I feel like that worked. Yay! But yes, the big one, our main one, is that we got this done tonight. I'm happy about that. Like I said, it's not perfect, but I think it does get the idea across. I think it feels solid. I'm happy about that. So, I'll take it. Thank you. Yeah, no, I think it does get, for the most part, the idea right. I think if I were to try and finalize it for the game, some redesigns of the tower, but the overall just is like a concept piece, right? A mood piece, as you say. I think it's a good fit. I think it does get to the right place. So I'm happy to say good with that. Happy to call that one good. So I know it's a few minutes early, but I think we had a good stopping point. I think we're gonna go ahead and call it there. Just put this one up here like that. Yeah, and as a thumbnail, I think it's very successful. Eden isn't still streaming. I would be very surprised if Eden were still streaming. She normally calls it fairly early. Oh my god, she's still streaming. I forget when she's playing Dark Souls, she really gets into it. Okay. Well, in that case, since oh, wait. Okay, so people are saying good night. I don't see people getting ready to wrap up the stream, though. So I think it's gonna be going a little bit longer. All right, in that case, we're gonna wrap up. I'm gonna go say hi to Eden, and then I am going to deliver the art piece. We're gonna do it right now. I just gotta tag it. But yes, we're gonna go ahead and go do that. So let's go say hi to Eden. We're gonna do one more hugs raid. And for Thursday, I will figure out who we're gonna be working on next. All right, sound good? All right, I want to go ahead and get it going just because I don't know how much longer Eden's gonna be going for. So I want to jump in while she is still playing. Sorry, I know I'm kind of wrapping it up early. I'm kind of rushing a little bit. Thank you guys for a wonderful start to the stream week. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed myself. I'm glad with what we were able to do and just kind of chill out. I know I wasn't necessarily as chatty as I am sometimes, but hopefully it was still fun. So yes, I will see you all on Thursday for some more chill times. But until then, I hope everyone has a really good midweek. I hope everyone gets some rest in there and gets to do something fun for themselves or have something good to eat. You know, hang out with some chooms maybe, or just hang out with yourself. Yeah, I don't really have anything else, but except to say again, thank you guys. I always really do appreciate it, and I do feel like we've managed to grow a little bit and really have a comfortable little place of ours to hang out. So thank you for making that happen. Thank you for making all this really possible. Yeah, I don't really have anything else. I always feel like I have to run down the clock. It's like, no, we could just go. So why don't we go? But yeah, thank you guys. And as always, remember to be kind to others and to be kind to yourselves, because you guys are doing a great job. I'm really proud of you. I really appreciate you. So thank you. I made the place, but you guys made it what it is. So yeah, I'll see you all later. Have a good night, or a good day, or a good whatever. Have a good. I'll see y'all later. Say hi to Eden for me. Bye, Chooms. Bye.